You are now listening to the Select Gaming Podcast.
There are a rash of various YouTube gaming channels who are currently outraged at the corporate practices of one DK Oldies.
You don't say.
Have you heard about this?
DK Oldies?
Yeah, you've not purchased from them, I imagine.
No, I don't think so.
For the uninitiated, DK Oldies is a fairly old, maybe more than a decade plus, online video game retailer. More than anything else, they make claims towards. They have a very very extensive collection of things that you can buy. They buy things in lots, and you know you can buy them online for probably a little bit more than market value. The latest controversy, Dusty, is that the claims that DK Oldies refurbished their consoles has been proven to be a lie. That's a lie,
It's a lie.
Dusty. They don't.
So with this, who confirmed this?
I wouldn't say it's been confirmed, and I don't want to throw anyone particularly under the bus on this one, but there's a number of different channels who at various points, particularly if you have if you have this sickness that we do, which is that we watch a lot of retro gaming YouTube. There's a lot of different channels who have posted several times on basically a variations on a theme, which is they'll buy a console from DK Oldies, and the console will be maybe 20, 30, 40, $50 USD more than, let's say, what market value would be. If you went to go buy it off of a Japanese reseller or something. And they would crack open those babies and they would find that claims for consoles being refurbished or cleaned up in any way or tested to be working go against some videos of the DK Oldies themselves have put up on YouTube, which shows the basic bare minimum maintenance of checking to make sure that a Wii console can read a disc, or that a fat PS2's drive opens and stuff like that. So
Okay.
the claim here is that DK Oldies is a scam because it is not selling. It is, first of all, selling consoles at a more expensive price than one might expect, and two, that they are not refurbishing them again as
Properly?
one might expect. Yeah, I suppose properly, but I suppose that's some of the more extravagant claims being made by people on YouTube who are discussing this topic at length, is that they're not refurbishing them at all.
The thing with this sort of reselling of these consoles, I mean, it boggles my mind that someone thinks that they're going to get an original NES for $130 and they think it's going to last the next 10 years. When you buy these things, it kind of is like Russian roulette. The success rate for me personally has been okay with a lot of like secondhand video game console purchases. Like I've had some good luck, but there is something to be said in our current state where, and we've said this so many times, this stuff is going to start to go.
Yep.
And we talked on a Hatrix episode how much I loved my SingStar White PS2 Slim.
Yep.
And it died 3 months ago, dude. Or maybe a little bit longer, but I was shocked. But then I'm like, why am I so shocked by something that I bought off of eBay? What did I think was going to happen? Like I know no history about like what the person who did with this console before me. Like I don't know how many hours they got out of it. It's like you just don't know these things. So you have to be able to accept that, yes, it's cool that it's like, oh, I can buy a Nintendo 64 for $250 and it looks clean, but it's like, it is a risk. And I think people just need to be aware of it no matter what. Like, I just don't know how you can say like, this isn't like a used car.
Well, isn't it not exactly like a used car? If you had bought a 30-year-old used car. I mean, that's how old the PS1 is. 30 years old, right? If you had bought a
Yeah.
30 years old car and then you said, "Well, I'm really upset that this doesn't work exactly like it worked on day 1." You would
Well, that's
be
the risk.
that's on you. Now, I am somewhat more sympathetic to the argument that if a if a if a retailer like DK Oldie says that they're going to refurbish a console, I'm somewhat more sympathetic to the idea that like actually they should have they should do the bare minimum. They should clean it. They should ensure that everything is functional and working. Um, but quite apart from that, are we imagining that DK Oldies or any of these sort of reseller services will be like doing the full work on these consoles, replacing bad pins and stuff like that, and like harvesting parts from old consoles? If they are, then dare I say that that's probably actually the correct price, like $140 or so much for a slim PS1 with a DualShock controller.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. $272 for a PS2 Slim. That's not cheap.
No, it's not cheap. So I mean, but I mean these things. I guess my concern here is like, is that expensive? Yes, it's absolutely expensive. Should we expect any better from them? I don't really know. I mean, that's buyer beware. I mean, these consoles have come with allegedly a 1-year warranty. I should say, by the way, I have no sympathy for DK Oldies. I've never bought a console from them. I never would because I have no
Me
need for
neither.
it. So
I just found out about them now because of you. This is my first time checking them out. So.
right. So before any just to preempt any comments about this, I could care less about DK Oldies and whether or not they survive till the end of the month. Except I hope that people who work there are able to put food on their table. That's my only interest. There's a 1-year warranty on them. I imagine that they probably hold to that warranty. I mean, look, they've been around for ages, right? Does it
Yeah.
sound like they're for us? Like, no, like they're not for us, because you and I are probably more likely to be the type to go to a local store that of people we know, or at least people we've had past familiarity with. And if it was $140 for a PS1 Slim, I might be tempted to give my money to that person, not even because of online or offline or local or any of those types of considerations, but because I've built a relationship of trust with these particular vendors. And if it were a GameStop that were selling them, and I had good experience with GameStop, the exact same thing would happen. I think people are upset that DK Oldies is charging a lot more money, but they're not charging a lot more money for you as an audience. They're charging a lot more money for the person who's going to attach their PS1 to their OLED TV with composite cables through one of those HDMI generic HDMI boxes they buy off of Amazon. These aren't the people like you and I who are looking up scalers and emulation settings and Mr. FPGA and all of these. So it seems to me that the people who are angry at this is not for you.
I think so. I'll say right off the bat, I think, and just looking at the prices of some of these systems, I mean, what you're really paying for is you're implicitly paying for that 1-year warranty. Okay, if that's the price of a $250 for a Nintendo 64, which you probably could find it a little bit cheaper on eBay. Dare I even say a thing like Craigslist or Kijiji if you look hard enough. They're either overcharging slightly because they need to, take into consideration the maintenance that they're doing with the refurbishing, right?
Absolutely.
Maybe this, maybe Nintendo 64 is with the consoles takes a little bit longer to clean up, right? Maybe they get in there. Maybe they have to do a better job, right? But then the second thing is like, okay, if it does break, that extra $50 that you paid is just them. It's securing the potential future maintenance that needs to be done. So it's like it is one of these things where you pay. What's the saying? Why am I blanking out? You pay what you get.
You get what you pay for.
You get what you pay for. So it's like I'm seeing good reviews on the site. I mean, maybe it's just more empty calories for people to kind of like gossip about. I don't know. With these older systems, what do you expect? Like if they're breaking on you, you can't prove if they refurbished it or not. Maybe there's a way that you can. You're never really going to know unless it's like they would take pictures of it, like they open it up and take pictures of it and say, "Hey, this is the console. This is what it looks like inside." You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's hard to know because I mean some of these some of these responses have been YouTubers who seem to generally know their stuff. I'm not calling into question any of their credibilities, even though I'm not naming anyone by name. But and they open it up, and based on their experiences collecting, they suggest that this is not a refurbished console. That the services that they
Oh,
expected aren't being fulfilled. Um, to which I say I've had a worse success rate buying new consoles and consoles breaking on
then
me
use.
than
Isn't that
used.
funny?
So if you tell me, I've had I think I had 3 Red Ring of Death on the Xbox 360. They were brand new, had to return them to the retailer. Um, I had my PS1, which I bought brand new, or I got it as a gift, in fact. To this day, still has to be flipped upside down in order to get it to work. And my 60 gigabyte launch PS3, RIP. Like it's out of commission. I'm waiting for the console modders to finally figure out what the hell is going on. On the other hand, I've bought PS2s that have survived apocalypses. I bought so many used consoles from EB Games slash GameStop. I've bought refurbished consoles from Nintendo. They've all, like, you know what I mean? It's like I think that there's a certain extent to which we need to accept the fact that these are complicated pieces of consumer electronics, and I mean we can have qualms about the particular service that DK Oldies provides, and there's no reason to point out them. Mom and pop retailers are going to have the same issues. You can pick your fights with them, but I think also you have a very valid point, which is to say, like, these are complicated pieces of technology, and they're going to, and a lot of them are getting on in age. I think the rather shocking truth is that if DK Oldies genuinely provided the service that it claims to do, fully refurbished consoles, including replacing capacitors and so on, actually they should be charging a lot more. Like, I'm looking at this now. Like, I don't think the GameCube is particularly susceptible to capacitors leaking at this moment. But if they're replacing capacitors and changing lenses and cleaning lenses and doing all the whole shebang, $140 for an acceptable condition GameCube in good working order. We all can't be cowboys going to flea markets and swap meets and taking a $20 flyer on a GBA. Sometimes you just want to buy something and hopefully it'll work. And more often than not, it does seem to work. I think there's a little bit of a tendency to sort of look, if you're going to make it's a real it's really exciting um when you're monetizing your channel to publish videos that are going to get clicks because they're pe- they're they're swimming in the water of drama. Actually, if I went to Dusty's game store and I bought a copy of Final Fantasy 7 and I paid retail price and it works, there's no story there to tell.
With these kind of purchases, I guess it's you're only ever going to have a good experience if there is a relationship with the vendor. If you can find that perfect relationship with a vendor out there who can provide you these sort of retro games, these retro consoles, going out and having that sort of FaceTime with people is important with these things. Because even when I buy things off of people from Kijiji, I'm like, so when'd you buy this? Like, I want to know about it, because it's like, I know you can't guarantee me that it's going to work, but I want to know a little bit about the life of this thing so I can expect that, okay, maybe I'll get 4 years out of this thing, right? The last system that I purchased was an OG Xbox from a face-to-face small business that, me and you, we both frequent. And dude, it's still working strong. And like when I went, I got it on a good deal, got it on a Boxing Day deal, and I was like, he was the one who told me. He's like, yeah, guy brought it in and blah 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 blah. And I was like, oh, sick, man. He's like, but just turn it around. Just if you got one of those dust blower things, just like blow the dust out. I'm like, oh, perfect. And then we started talking. You started telling me about Xbox stuff and all that shit. And I was like, okay, cool. This is how you do it. And I'm like, I felt better getting that FaceTime, buying something that was like, I guess it's 20 years old. 20 years old. I felt better about that. And getting that FaceTime is the best experience that you are going to have with buying retro games. So it's like, go out, go on the hunt, go to those stores that you love, support those small businesses, because that's how you're going to have the best experience with this stuff. Everything else is Russian roulette, man. I'm sorry to say. I know people want to be like, oh, but the website looks so good and the cartridges are, they're there. And it's like, yeah, but, these guys seem bigger than like a mom and pop shop that we would go to, right?
They are. They've got factories or like warehouses full of stuff.
Yeah, so they got a big payroll for people and stuff or whatever.
I'll just say we don't. I mean, you and I have been to at least, maybe 3 or 4 local game stores in the broader area, and I think that one of the things that surprised me consistently in our sort of hunting was we've seen stores, and we're not going to mention names again, but like we've seen stores that go beyond probably what would be expected and tell you the story of the person who traded in the case of your Xbox. And then we also saw stores that were surprisingly helpful with helping people coming in and they wanted to buy an Xbox One X or a Series X, and there was a little bit of confusion there, and the store owner was helpful in guiding them along. And then we had another experience where it was like the store owner. This is one that we drove far away to. The store owner there was talking about, you better hurry up and get these consoles fixed so we can get them out to another location. And I'll just say, like,
I remember.
you
I remember
that?
that. Yeah, there was like a teenager working the front, and this like dude with, I think it was like a Motorola flip phone from the '80s was like, "Listen," he was like a hustler. I'm like, "Do you even really care about video games? Is this just like an easy paycheck for you, buddy?" I
You
don't
just,
know.
like when you have employees like that who are
That was
tasked with
so
fixing
funny.
stuff, you can just imagine it's like even a simple thing like replacing the battery inside the save game battery inside of GBA cards. Like all you need to do is solder a few wires in most cases, right? I bet you in this case, the guy, when you're under that time constraint, all you're doing is hot gluing the thing and hoping for the best, right? So I get my only point in saying this is like you need to, like, if you are fortunate enough to live in an area where you have a number of local game stores, corporate, private, small, whatever, it doesn't matter. The scale doesn't matter how they're organized. They are still variable. Your best bet when sussing this out is to do what Dusty said, which is just forge a connection, see people who are willing and eager to engage with you. And look, ultimately, I will say this. There is a lot said on the sort of like collector and reseller community in video games, more so than I've seen in some of the other collector communities like film collectors, that they are they love to talk about market value and only paying and not paying a dollar above market value. I will say this. I cannot vouch for DK Oldies because I've never bought from them and I probably never will in my life. But I will say $20 over market value, $30 over market value, whatever the percentage you want to say it is, 20% for a console that you know is going to work and you don't have to go through hassles. You're not going to remember that $20 over market value. You're going to remember the fact that you got a console that's working and it makes you happy because it helped you relive the past. So I don't want to go in too hard on DK Oldies. It sounds like they're not doing their best, but it doesn't sound like they're any better or worse than 90% of the places that you and I have experienced, whether it's through some random person on Craigslist or through stores themselves.
With the retro gaming stuff, it's Russian roulette, man. And at the end of the day, try and build those relationships with those mom and pop places if you can, because that's how you're gonna have the best experiences with this kind of stuff. I think that's all there is to it. Like, websites are easy, and I think especially during the pandemic, I think we got even more used to just being comfortable buying things on our couch. Just remember, there's consequences sometimes when you don't go in person and actually just pick it up, see what it looks like, kind of break out of those habits. I know it's easy. I mean, eBay, stuff like that, it's easy for me because like if you can't find it in the store, then you don't really have an option, right? E-commerce and going online is the next step, but and I think we got to continue. We've been slacking a little bit with not checking out our regular spots, and I think like I've been jonesing again to kind of just walk around, man, and the thing is with those stores is the difference between going to like a GameStop and those mom and pop places is that they love games, dude. They love games just as much as you do. The people at GameStop sometimes they're kind of miserable. I still go to GameStop. They got great deals and whatnot, but it's like those other smaller places, they love games, right? We went to that one place, and after we were talking to the dude about deals and games and stuff, he was like, yo, check this out. And he pulled out a friggin' Klonoa, a PS1 Klonoa disc, and he's like, yo, man, somebody just brought this in. And we just paid like, he's like, we paid $100 for this like lot of.
It feels
like,
illegal to even hold this.
Yeah. He's like, we just paid $100 for this lot of PS1 games. It's like, I felt like I should have gave him more, but he just wanted to go. And I'm like, dude, can I hold that? Can I hold Klonoa, please?
Yeah, I mean, if this conversation doesn't reveal anything else, it's that despite the fact that even though our online lives are very, very heavily influenced by or heavily reliant on emulation, we are a sucker for holding the damn thing in all its original glory. Like you holding that
man.
Klonoa was, I think, the happiest day of your life.
I've never seen one of these in real life. And just remember, when you go to these places too, they do kind of feel like a museum a little bit. To me anyways, like I do love seeing things in the flesh and just being like, this, oh yeah, I remember this one. Hey, you remember this one? There's something cool about that too. So treat yourself.
Yeah.
So
lesson, try to go in person. Number 1. Number 2, build relationships. And number 3, always offer to pay cash. That's the
buddy.
The Select Gaming official line. Offer to pay cash.
Thank you for tuning into the Select Gaming Podcast. Like, share, and subscribe. We create videos for the Select Gaming that are guided by our personal interests, and your support makes that possible.